I'm happy for her. A lot of blessings all at one time. So that's a good thing. We're about to move on. I'm just trying to find the post that I want to move on to. And this is just because we have already talked about Donald Glover and how Donald Glover seems to not like to pay black ladies. We also found out that, he may not necessarily like to hunch on the black women's, okay? Because, we seen him with the white girls and everything and the Asian girls. So it felt like we don't know if we necessarily your speed. Um, but then you wasn't paying that lady. And it's just starting to make us feel away because you, market yourself to black people. You market yourself to black people now. Um, so what you're saying is no, I just felt like it didn't really look like nothing at first. I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like if we're gonna announce the pregnancy, let's announce a pregnancy. I don't know what the fuck that was, but like I said, congratulations. She wanted it out, so it's out. Cool. Just look weird, sounded off-putting to me, in my opinion. Okay, I ain't gotta be pregnant by the nigga, so my opinion don't matter, y'all. Mm, goddamn shake it, some good. All right, Donald Glover. We getting into Donald Glover. During a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter, the Atlanta creator and actor was asked about being accused of misogyny, a prejudice or dislike against black women. The allegations resurfaced in 2022 when he had a chat with himself for Interview Magazine and asked, "Are you afraid of black women?" Discussing his decision on the topic, Donald Glover said earlier this month, I felt like it was something that people always say, but no one ever asked because I felt like people really don't want to know. It is a better narrative. What's a better narrative? But anybody who actually knows me knows how much that hurts me, he added. But I also realize it doesn't matter. People are not going to read this and be like, wow, I was wrong. Asked by his Mr. and Mrs. Smith co-star Maya Erskine how she processes and moves on from the claims against him, Donald Glover said his next step is to go play with my kids and be happy and be present because my kids know that and they're the only ones who matter. How would they know that? You have kids with a white woman. How would they know that? Or my mom knows that and she's the one who matters. Or Quinta Brunson knows that and she's the only one who matters. Okay. People who actually know me. And also it's not true. When I walk down the street in Atlanta, that's not what happens. Continue Glover. That's what celebrity is. The TV series writer also revealed recently that he privately tied the knot with Michelle White while taping the Amazon Prime Video series. There was a day where I don't think we had to be on set until noon or 1. So I was like, can we get married today? I got married in the morning. We had a real wedding afterwards too. That night though, we went to our favorite restaurant, and then her parents and my mom were waiting for us at the house. Glover, who was previously vocal about his stance against marriage, added why he's had a change of heart. I think what happened was, well, number one, I didn't know what I was getting out of it. I felt like I knew what she was getting out of it, and I didn't feel like she was being honest necessarily about what she was getting out of it. Donald Glover, is you don't really trust women as a whole, but black women seem to be, just the trendy ones to vocalize your distrust of. Hold up, I'm about to find the rest of that because I want to read the rest of what he said. I want to read the rest of what he said. Okay. Uh Okay, so he says, and I didn't feel like she was being honest necessarily about what she was getting out of it. I was thinking about it in such a silly way, which I see now. Now I realize, yeah, maybe she's gaining some stuff, but she's also losing a lot of stuff. He added that it was his now wife who wanted to take the next step, adding in part, finding trust is so hard. And the fact that we have this and that, we can even argue about it and still be like, but I love you. I mean, how many people have that? So essentially, what he's saying is he didn't want to get married because he didn't know what he would be getting out of it. A woman would be getting financially taken care of, but what could he possibly be getting out of a relationship with a woman that he can't get without paying for her? Yeah, that's a toxic ass mindset to have entering in a relationship with someone. So I can pretty much guess that when it comes to Donald Glover, that white woman that he married is getting the same black man. Getting the same black man, y'all. And when I say that, I mean, it sounds like she had to have children and earn you feeling like she was there because she honestly liked you versus just wanting you for money. And you could be in a full-blown fucking relationship with women as a 30-something-year-old grown man and still be asking yourself, what do you get out of the equation? That's such a crazy thing to ask like that, and calls it silly. Now I want to know, what do you get out of it, instead of viewing it as if it's something that, oh, she loses, she's gaining a lot of stuff, but she's also losing a lot too. Okay, so what is it that you're getting out of this equation? I want to know. I'm gonna have to find the rest of this article and read it on my alone time, because honestly I feel like what he just told me is that white lady struggles with him as well. And marriage may not necessarily last. Marriage may not necessarily have been the move to make, but people feel that way when they have children. They feel when they have children that they should, legitimize their family, which is fine. But ultimately, I feel like it's more so out of social constructs and forcing yourself to do something you don't necessarily want to do. And those things never work out well. So there's that. Okay. Let's go ahead on, girl. We're gonna move on. I want to move on to Jonathan Majors. He's in the news again. I'm trying to find him. Okay, yes. Okay. New accusations. Jonathan Majors' ex-girlfriend claim he abused them. Girlfriends claimed he abused them. One alleges he threatened to make her infertile. Okay? Let's go ahead. We're going to read the New York Times article. The actor denied physical abuse. Separately, he said he wasn't told of accusations of misbehavior on the set of Lovecraft Country. Child, what? That was the caption under the post. Anyway, I'm gonna read this article. Melina Ryzik for New York Times. All right, this is from February 8, 2024. Okay, let's get into it. Since the actor Jonathan Majors was found guilty in December of assaulting and harassing a girlfriend, he has maintained his innocence and is hoping to revive a once skyrocketing career that disintegrated in the wake of his conviction. In a televised interview last month, he said that he never struck a woman. But in pretrial statements to the prosecution in that assault case, and separately in interviews with the New York Times, another former girlfriend, Emma Duncan, accused him of emotionally and physically abusing her, choking her, throwing her around, and bruising her. A third, Maura Hooper, yes, I think that's Hooper, not Hopper. Yes. Maura Hooper also said that he had emotionally abused her. Speaking publicly for the first time, Miss Duncan and Miss Hooper, actresses who dated Mr. Majors before he shot to fame as the supervillain Kang in Marvel projects, described him as a controlling, threatening figure who isolated them from friends and career pursuits. You lose your sense of worth, Miss Duncan said. And in interviews with former colleagues, the Times found that Mr. Majors had a history of volatility on the set of the HBO series Lovecraft Country. That included confrontations with female coworkers that led them to complain to the network. Thursday afternoon, a lawyer for Mr. Majors, Priya Chaudhry, said that Mr. Majors had not physically abused Ms. Duncan. She described the relationships with both women as toxic and said that Mr. Majors was taking responsibility for his role in them. She added that countless women in the entertainment industry can attest to his professionalism. This article is based on interviews with 20 people, including some who requested anonymity for fear of career repercussions, and on statements submitted to the prosecution in a December case in which Mr. Majors was found guilty of harassment and misdemeanor assault of Grace Jabari, a former girlfriend. He is scheduled to be sentenced in April, though his lawyer asked on Tuesday that the judge throw out the jury's guilty verdict. Emma Duncan got to know Mr. Majors, now 34, at a summer stock program in Chautauqua, New York, and was engaged to him from 2015 to 2019, she said. Mara Hooper, a fellow student when Mr. Majors attended the prestigious Yale School of Drama, dated him from 2013 to 2015. Seems like there's overlap in all of these relationships. Both said, and like a what, 2 to 3 year situation. Both said they experienced his hot and cold tendencies. In the beginning of their relationships, he showered each with attention and seemingly romantic gestures, including quickly calling them Mrs. Majors, which we've heard him do that with Megan Good. Manipulative behavior they have come to understand as love bombing. At first, you feel, oh, I'm being loved, Miss Duncan said. And then you feel, I'm being erased. Miss Chaudhry, his lawyer, said these relationships were between young drama students and all began with mutual intensity. In interviews and pretrial statements to prosecutors in the case in which Mr. Majors was convicted, the women detailed multiple episodes in which he was a domineering or violent partner. Ahead of the trial, the statements were submitted under the Molyneux rule, which lets a court decide whether the prosecution can introduce evidence to show a pattern of behavior. Without commentating publicly on their merit, the judge in Mr. Majors' case did not allow these statements into evidence. There is a high bar for allowing testimony about past behavior. The Times obtained the statements before the trial. The interactions they described were subsequently confirmed to the Times by multiple friends of the women, in whom they confided, as well as by contemporaneous journal entries. Okay, godly. That word's hard to say. Okay, text message. So basically, the people had journal entries that dated during that time that basically told the story of whatever happened between them. Okay, contemporaneous. Yeah, I think that's how it contemporaneous journal entries, text messages, photos, and in Miss Hooper's case, medical records. In July 2016, hold up, just making sure y'all good. Okay, all right. In July 2016, Miss Duncan and Mr. Majors were driving in Chautauqua when they began arguing, and Mr. Majors threatened to strangle and kill her. The statement says one of the several instances when violence loomed early in their relationship. Miss Chaudhry confirmed that there was an argument in the car, but said that Mr. Majors did not threaten to strangle or kill Miss Duncan. Girl, how would you know? You weren't there. Later that same month, Miss Duncan visited Mr. Majors in Santa Fe, Nevada, New Mexico. Child, listen, get your mind together, girl. Santa Fe, New Mexico, where he was filming Hostiles opposite Christian Bale. During the trip, she discovered messages between Mr. Majors and another woman on his Apple Watch. God damn, if this ain't the same situation that happened with Grace Jabari. When Miss Duncan confronted him, Mr. Majors threw the watch out of a taxi window, she said, an incident that Miss Chaudhry confirmed. Sounds very similar to what happened with Grace Jabari. Back in the hotel, Miss Duncan started packing her things. Mr. Majors, the statement says, pushed Miss Duncan into the couch and began to choke her. He also stated, I'm going to kill you. He then threw her body across the room and said, I'm going to make sure you don't have children. When she made moves to leave, he apologized. Miss Chaudhry denied this account. This did not happen, she said, though she acknowledged that they had many serious arguments. She said that he is now choosing to take responsibility for his own part in that toxic relationship, focusing on himself and addressing his lifelong depression. In an incident at their Harlem apartment in October 2016, according to the statement, Mr. Majors picked up Ms. Duncan after an argument and slammed her body into their mailbox. She had bruising on her back and arms and pain afterward. The statement says Mr. Majors also threatened to kill himself, a threat he repeated in later altercations. Mr. Majors' lawyer confirmed the incident but said Ms. Duncan was physically trying to stop him from harming himself, and during this, they both fell into the mailbox. Child, how was he harming himself? Was he about to run into fucking traffic in front of y'all house? Do y'all live on a busy street? Nearly a year later, according to Ms. Duncan's statement, he threw her to the ground and bruised her forehead with his. Sounds like he headbutted her, but okay. Ms. Chaudhry denied this. In April 2018, after Ms. Duncan was unavailable for phone for about 40 minutes while at a friend's birthday party, Mr. Majors told her she should kill herself, she recalled. Ms. Chaudhry said that Mr. Majors denied saying those words, but did say hurtful things, which he regrets. In February 2019, the statement says he flipped the table and broke chairs in their apartment and destroyed Ms. Duncan's belongings and family heirlooms during one of her many attempts to end things. Sounds very familiar. Didn't Keke Palmer say something about Darius breaking shit in her house that was like family heirlooms or her diaries or something like that? During one of her many attempts to end things, later that year, when she realized that Mr. Majors was continuing an affair, he made a fist and stated, "Don't make me punch you," the statement says. She left the relationship not long after. His lawyer, Ms. Chaudhry, said that Mr. Majors denied making a fist or saying anything about punching or harming Ms. Duncan, and that he flipped his own flimsy fold-up table during an incident. Child, they really trying to downplay it. Ms. Chaudhry accused Ms. Duncan of slapping or hitting Mr. Majors across the face and head several times. She did not immediately prove details. Ms. Duncan said her own account was well documented. "I stand by the events described," she said. Mr. Majors had begun drawing attention for his acting while he was still a student at Yale. After graduation, his ascent was quick, and directors praised his standout charisma, versatility, and ability to reflect nuance. In 2019, Mr. Majors became principal filming on Lovecraft, his first project as a lead actor. Though he earned an Emmy nomination, it was a difficult shoot, according to 9 people associated with the production. The subject matter, which dealt with race in mid-century America, was heavy, and the episodes with sci-fi and horror elements were complicated with grindingly long days. In interviews with cast and crew members, they described Mr. Major's demeanor changing depending on whom he was surrounded by. He was often a buddy to male technicians and craftspeople, but to women, he could be testy and prone to argument. Women on set warned one another to tread carefully around him, multiple people said. Jessica Polini, a veteran with more than a decade in the TV industry, Boardwalk Empire, Yellowstone, came in for episode 9 of Lovecraft Country, my favorite, as a first assistant director, a crucial managerial role that requires overseeing shots and staff for months. She and Mr. Majors had only glancing interactions at first, she said. But as they were wrapping production after a long day, Mr. Majors approached her, saying to her surprise that they needed to talk. As other cast and crew left, he indicated they should go to the set's cramped faux bathroom where he stood in front of her. "I just remember him sizing me up and down," Miss Polini said in an interview. "This has happened to me before by a man. Like, feels like he's trying to intimidate me and it's not necessarily working. I'm just looking at him like, why are you looking at me like that? Your stupid ass." Anyway, "I just remember him sizing me up and down," Miss Polini said in an interview. "He's a big guy and I'm 5'3". He told her sternly that things weren't working. He said, "You're not welcome here," Miss Polini said, crying as she recalled the intensity of his dressing down. She was unsure what she had done wrong and felt trapped. "I'm thinking, how am I going to get out of this situation?" she said. "I kind of cowered. I was scared." Eventually, she said, she placated Mr. Major, saying she would try to do better, and he left. Miss Polini immediately told 2 colleagues what had happened. In an interview with the Times, one of them said that in all their years in the industry, he had never seen her shaken up like that. Ms. Chaudhry said Mr. Majors never intended to instill fear or intimidate anyone. Ms. Polini's colleagues encouraged her to report the encounter to a producer, but she resisted until she learned of other women who also had disturbing experiences. Lisa Zugschwert, a veteran assistant director who was on Lovecraft from the start, said she had a negative experience with Mr. Majors early on when he got angry over a schedule change that she was relaying. She tried to avoid him after that. But before sexual harassment training on set, Mr. Majors approached her while she was standing with another female crew member and got really up in my face, Ms. Zugschwert recalled. He made a derogatory racial remark about her looks, said Miss Zugschwert, a woman of color. Miss Zugschwert was shocked, less by the disparagement than by the way he crossed physical and professional boundaries. She said, especially as she listened to the harassment seminar, they talked about hostile work environment, she said. In the days that followed, she worried about what else Mr. Majors might do. She left the show after a few episodes. Ms. Chaudhry said Majors had not made a derogatory racial comment about anyone. Multiple female crew members said that these sorts of incidents made it difficult for them to do their jobs. Ms. Polini and Ms. Zugschwert along with a third female crew member, a production assistant, eventually complained about Mr. Majors to HBO, and the network advised him to apologize. He did so gruffly. Ms. Polini said, saying it was a misunderstanding, but things did not improve afterwards, she said. A spokeswoman for HBO declined to comment. Ms. Chaudhry said that Majors had never been told that anyone objected to his behavior. Miss Duncan and Miss Hooper's relationships with Mr. Majors briefly overlapped, though neither initially realized it. When Miss Hooper and Mr. Majors began dating, she said that he quickly expressed deep love for her, but also became controlling, dictating where she could go, who she could socialize with, and how she could behave. She was not allowed to speak to anyone about their relationship, isolating her from a support system, according to the pretrial statement. She became a shadow of herself, a Yale classmate said. Ms. Chaudhry described Mr. Majors as young and insecure at the time of his relationship with Ms. Hooper. Looking back, he is embarrassed by some of his jealous behavior, she said. Ms. Hooper got pregnant a few months into the relationship. When she told Mr. Majors that she had scheduled an abortion in 2 weeks, he insisted that she do it sooner. She said in the statement, Mr. Majors dropped her off at the clinic where he was advised that Ms. Hooper would need an escort home, she said. But when she called him afterwards to pick her up, he said he was heading to a rehearsal. Because she believed that Mr. Majors wouldn't tolerate her discussing the situation with anyone, the statement says she couldn't call a friend. She feigned an escort and walked herself home. I felt trapped and alone, she said later in an interview with the Times. I felt like he did that shit intentionally. Ms. Chaudhry said that because both Mr. Majors and Ms. Hooper were in the same show, they agreed they could not both miss the rehearsal and that she would find her way home after the procedure. Ms. Hooper said they were not in the same show at the time. Through his attorneys, he denied he asked her to move up the abortion. That deeply sad event is still a painful memory for Mr. Majors, Ms. Chaudhry said, I'm sure. In 2015, when Miss Hooper confronted Mr. Majors with evidence that he was having an affair, he threatened to kill himself, her statement says. A year later, after they had split up and Mr. Majors learned that Miss Hooper had a brief relationship with someone he knew, he phoned and berated her. Her statement says, calling her a whore and saying, I hope you die, kill yourself, and I'm going to rip you out of my heart the way they ripped our baby out of you. Wow. Ms. Chaudhry described it as a mutually intense conversation. Mr. Majors regrets saying hurtful things in that moment, but does not recall the specific things he said. Ms. Hooper wrote about the incident in her journal, which was reviewed by the Times. The lengthy phone call caused residual trauma and suicidal ideations, she said in a statement to prosecutors. A Mullineaux submission, like the statements by Ms. Hooper and Ms. Duncan, is a contentious legal tool. Prosecutors successfully use such testimony in the convictions of Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein. It can help open the doors to an appeal of a guilty verdict. At a pretrial hearing, Mr. Majors' defense argued that the submission would be prejudicial to their clients, and the judge agreed. The actors' lawyers are seeking to keep the filing with the women's statement sealed permanently. To Ms. Duncan, secrecy is tantamount to shame. Coming forward, she said, allowed her and others in the same situation to find support and recovery. I believe in redemption, she said, but not without accountability. So yeah, y'all. That's the most recent news on your boy, Jonathan Majors. And I just really feel like he is another one of the He-Man women haters. Yeah, you get into relationships with women because you need them, but you really just want to control them and suck them of their energy and use it for your own. Like that's just kind of what it seems like. Journey probably would speak out even if he did do something to her. I don't think she wants the ridicule that comes from the community when accusing a black man of something. I know that's right. Is he fucking his lawyer or she wants to fuck him? Because girl, it's definitely given she wants to fuck him if he isn't fucking her for payment. Okay. The first thing they're gonna say is why now? Like, what you mean why now? Whenever the fuck I feel like it, it's when. Child, if a man purse his lips like that, I'm going. Girl, I know. Whenever he pursed them lips, it's like you can't trust nothing coming out. Such a sad case of a talent but demented man. I'm upset but not surprised. Yeah, I mean, nothing to be surprised about. She was also on the show with Bill. She's probably seen a lot of abuse, child, and then it like as a child star. Like, let's not forget, Journey was a child star, so I'm sure she's seen a lot. Well, y'all, let's go ahead and move on to the last topic. We're gonna move on to Monique and them, girl. Okay. We're gonna do a little quick break and then we're gonna come back and finish it off.
Anywhere you go, you belong. Anywhere you said, anywhere.
All right, y'all. Let's get back into it. Okay. So, first of all, we all know that Monique went on Shannon Sharp, right? Monique went on Shannon Sharp. DL Hugley responded. And then Monique responded to DL Hugley. We're going to work from there and we're going to end with Monique's son and his second response. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Our brother, DL Hugley. And we are firm believers on what is right and what is wrong is wrong. Yes. So we got to start off by saying there was an inaccuracy as it regards Monique saying that there was a cease and desist that was given to DL to shut it down. Mm-hmm. What had taken place, to be accurate, was after Monique spoke to Brother DL on that conversation, Brother DL said, what?
Well, after we spoke on that conversation.
Well, you the one that started off telling us, Sydney, won't you just get it all the way out? What you mean told us what? And then she's prompted to speak. Oh, Lord, I really try not to be judgmental of people's relationships because, I told y'all before, them people have been together a long time and we haven't seen any real, issues from Sydney. But I'm really looking at this situation like, it don't matter how much we try to, not make it about him. We bring it back to him. We bring it back to her dick worship. And that really being the issue, child. But we're gonna let him continue to comment. So she lied about a cease and desist. She said that she had not said, I didn't know whether that was a lie or not. But you did not send DL a cease and desist, and he still took down whatever it was that happened on that show. Okay, continuing.
When we hung up that phone, the last thing he said was, "It is what it is." And I said, DL, then we're gonna have to get our attorney involved. That's the last thing me and DL Hugley said on that conversation.
And after having that conversation with Monique, we went foremost, our brother, DL Hugley, our attorney involved, Attorney Anderson. At the time, there were some emails that were transferred back and forth between his side and our side, and it escalated to a point when we had our attorney on the email, whereby then finally DL said that he would scratch the interview.
Yes.
So it was inaccurate that a cease and desist had to be given.
So you didn't give a cease and desist, but y'all sent something by way of a lawyer that was enough of a threat for them to take it down because it's not even worth it, right?
However, that was the next step, and that's what Monique remembered, because when I discussed it with her, we said that would be the next step. But to DL's credit, at that moment, when it had escalated, that's when he decided to shut it down. However, that is a bit different from how it seemed to have been communicated, whereby on the phone, they were having a conversation and it was kumbaya. Though he never used those words, kumbaya, it did not. Our attorney end with her being under the impression that this was going to be resolved and shut down. So we wanted to make that clear out of love and respect for Brother DL. And despite all the commentary that he gave, with all the crunches she be doing, the captain's in the front.
I do.
And
I do.
Tell him.
I'm a sneak snacker, baby.
And she doesn't sneak when she snacks.
Okay. Hey.
But nonetheless, we wanted to be clear, because at the end of the day, we Black folks in this world of entertainment, and there was a lot.
They talk way too fucking slow. Get to the point.
Level of harshness in his return that seemed a little bit exaggerated for the moment. And we wanted to make it clear. And I think Monique can do it best when she speaks in reference to what she meant while talking about DL in the past.
You know, when I watched DL say, she went after my wife, she went after my daughters, I want to really be clear who I went after so that there's no confusion here. When I was on stage, when I'm on stage and we are performers, we are performing to the audience in front of us. When I was on that stage and I said, it must be hard to perform oral sex.
But differently.
Okay, on a coward. That had nothing to do with Mrs. Hugley. That insult was directed straight to you, DL. That had nothing to do with your wife. That was straight to you. So it felt like you were trying to pass it off as if I was going after your wife.
So that he can make himself a victim in a situation. I can see that. I can. Because I feel like, he says whatever the fuck he wants to say about y'all.
You did a post about, you did an interview about. I didn't do that interview. I simply reposted what you said. So when you say, Monique, you went after my daughter, that's untrue, DL. I posted what you said. And then when you said...
And going after his daughter means, like, I wasn't being critical of your daughter. Putting some information out that might hurt, embarrassing to her, but it's also information that you yourself have already put out there, which makes it fair game. I agree with her there. I have to say. I still feel like it's fucked up that she did that, but I feel like once the shit has been put out there, if it can be used to show how much of an ain't shit ass nigga you are, it will be used. you still an ain't shit nigga, ain't shit ass nigga that let that happen. And I love how everybody likes to argue about shit that don't matter. It wasn't DL's friend, it was her friend. And he, he just didn't believe it, but she didn't tell him when it happened. Motherfucker, apples and oranges. It doesn't even matter. What came out of DL's mouth and his daughters when she spoke about it was that when she came to him, he ignored her. He did not validate her. He did not protect her. He said that out of his mouth. Ain't nothing else to argue about.
On your, we were really going for it with your shades on, and you said, Monique said, I stood by and watched my daughter be raped.
Not watched.
DL Hugley.
Somebody and let, meaning
that's
you
your conscience talking.
You didn't come to her
brother.
Rescue.
I never said that. I never said that. And I want to be a little clear about something else. Never would I try to do anything to harm any of your babies, because we got babies too. So never would I try to do anything to harm your children. However, what I was saying to your daughter and to the other, you did a post about, you did to the other daughters out there, I know what it's like for your daddy to know you've been touched and he not protect you, because my daddy did the same thing. That's what that whole point was. But I was showing why I would call you a coward, brother. I don't think it's brave that you didn't protect your baby. So when I said what I was saying, let me be clear to you, DL Hugley, it had nothing to do in reference to your family, and you know that. Now, when you were speaking and you were going off and you said, what did you say? She was so offended by the game we play, but you didn't say what the offense was. And that's the part for me that is disheartening, that you continue to try to trick and smoke and mirror our people. If you're going to say it all the way through. When you say family is sacred, you are absolutely right, baby. You're right. To the other daughters out there, I know, but when you say would my husband rather, and you co-sign your team of people doing that, well, isn't my husband sacred? So you got to be careful in your words, because the very words you use, DL, they're going to come back, and they're coming back to bite you, baby. And what I also said on Club Shay Shay, when I looked in that camera, I said, DL, I love you, brother. And I don't know if you didn't hear that part, but we really do. We love you, brother. And if ever you get, but when you say would my husband.
Well, Club Shay Shay.
So that was her response to this video, which we've already seen, because he went in real nasty, and I don't need to repeat that. So then he came with this response.
All right, I'm taking time to respond to Monique. Made another greasy ass video with her daddy.
And you started off with the same jokes.
We kind of relitigating some of the stuff she said on Club Shay Shay, where she talked about how she was on the show and somebody, they played a game, Would You Rather? And I guess she felt like they insulted her husband's sexuality, which is interesting because she can always talk shit about everybody else's sexuality. But I guess her husband's sacrosanct. He's off limit. But a hit dog will bark unless his mouth is full. But she talked about, well, she didn't actually call her lawyer. Who the fuck would be afraid of your lawyer? Your lawyer, you mean the lawyer that did your contract? That lawyer from the firm of Negro.
She did say she called her lawyer. What you talking about?
Negro from Ghetto Got Him and Gone. That lawyer? Who the fuck afraid of him? He couldn't get your name right on the ticket. He gonna get it right on a legal document. It didn't happen because we decided it shouldn't happen. You didn't need to, because we respect people. We don't have to do things for clicks. They took it off because you asked me to, because I respected you at the time. You also talked about how I disrespect you on so many platforms. But you have this impeccable memory where you can tell to the degree, well, who did what to you and why and what happened, where you were, but you can't pull up one time on any platform that I said anything about you at all, because you know you're lying. You got that piece of paper and that big ass memory, but you can't pull one up. My biggest mistake is saying yes to you.
I disagree with him here. I think there were times where he was talking about her Netflix lawsuit, and he would make comments kind of like she need to just take what them people want to give her, because who cares to hear you anyway? You know what I'm saying? That's the type of shit he would say. I can't speed this up, I don't think. Yeah, I can't speed up anything on Instagram, y'all. Sorry.
I should have said no when you came on you couldn't come on my radio show. I should have said no that I wasn't playing those dates with you. As a matter of fact, almost anybody who says yes to you at some point is in this milieu with you. Almost anybody. So I would suggest anybody out there, you can say yes to drugs, but say no to Monique. You talked about how my children, the families are off limits. They were running across Vegas, stage in Detroit. Weren't when you talking shit on social media. When you got your ass whipped and your tickets dropped, then they became off limits. But let's do this. Let's decide that you will treat my children like you treat yours, like you don't know them, invisible, like you have no relationship with them, like you're estranged. You're unfamiliar, like you don't know them. You also intimated that I was coward. You know what I'd never do? I would never let my woman take care of me. I would never let my woman get evicted from her apartment. I would never let my woman has to ask another man for money.
And you know what, DL? That's the best point you've made, is that Monique is over there acting like Sydney is a fucking savior when at the end of the day, she pays his living wage, okay? When at the end of the day, he is her employee. He is not the one making sure you're okay. To go and cry to other men to be, helping you and supporting you because you need help and your husband couldn't help you. And I get all of that. Okay, I totally do. But DL, please stop acting like your wife is not over there sticking around because she feels that she deserves to live nicely after all of the shit that you put her through. Please stop acting like that's not what's going on over there. You're not over there taking care of that lady, just out the goodness of your heart. You dogged that lady out for years and she's there reaping the benefits of your celebrity, because what the fuck else is she supposed to do after she dealt with you cheating on her, having side babies and disrespecting her in her fucking face? She was the one that had to go and take care of that baby and give that lady some money because you didn't give a fuck to do it. So don't talk about how you wouldn't let your lady do this, you wouldn't let your lady do that. When you had a baby with that lady, you ain't give a fuck about her. I guess you only have compassion and want to take care of the women that you're married to, but you don't really want to do that when it comes to the women you impregnate. Like, whatever. Yeah,
I'd never do that. Can your old man say the same? He loves you. Of course, he got to say that. You claim him on your taxes. He's a dependent. He's sitting there with you right now. And everything. Because it ain't like he does anything else.
Just like your children and your wife sitting over there saying because you paying the bills. You really think that them people done got over everything you've ever done? No, but they probably want to be able to continue to reap the benefits.
Address the salient point. I said that if you spent as much time writing your Netflix special as you did arguing about getting it, it wouldn't have been trash. It was. I didn't say it. I defy anybody out there. Stop listening to me. Watch it. Read the reviews. Read the reviews. You begged for something. You made valid points that women are underpaid, that they're not valued. That's absolutely right. So you would think that when you got a chance to do something that you could argue for, you'd be up for the challenge, but you shit the bed because you never are ready for it, because all you ever do is complain about what you don't have. You're never ready for the moment because you're always living in the past. I said it. If you spend half of your time.
I think that's a read that we could say about you, DL. As I've said, you repeat the same jokes over and over again. Like, you've just you've changed genres of what you do, becoming more political, being a radio personality and all those things. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, I feel like he was never that funny either. So I just kind of, some of the things he's saying about her can be said about him.
Doing, as opposed to talking about who didn't do for you and what they did for you, you'd be a lot further along. You wouldn't be evicted. You wouldn't be working for your man. You wouldn't be asking other comics for money. So you got all the ingredients. Take that piece of paper that you're running down the list with, and that pen that you got, and that daddy sitting next to you, and do what you can't do what you never do. Write a fucking joke.
Child, and it was him trying to play her and end with the joke, but then couldn't turn the phone off. Child, I guess. All right, DL, you got it off your chest. Well, guess what? Monique and them came back, and I believe that they responded again. I'm not sure, or did they not respond to that one? And then the sun came out. It's in order on here, hold up. Okay, yeah, no, the son came out first. Okay. And DL has said this. Let me make something very clear. The things you know about me that you judge me on in these comments is because I made them known. I accept accountability and responsibility. You don't stand on truth until you can stand on the worst of what you've done and accept your fault. You can't hurt me with the very truth I took accountability for. I understand that, sir. You can say that as much as you want to, but that's not accountability that you can ever really shake. Like, there are some things people are never going to be able to shake that's been said about them. And I feel like one of the things that you're never going to be able to fully shake is you not believing your daughter and that being out there. Okay. Like, you're never going to be able to live that down as far as I'm concerned. But okay, DL, if you think that being honest about that to the public is supposed to absolve you, that's fine. But I told y'all, I think his mentality hasn't changed just because he had that instance happen, just because he had that traumatic experience take place in his life. It doesn't mean it's made him a better individual as far as I'm concerned. But whatever, let's continue on. Being able to say I did something fucked up does not make a person be better. So I don't know what that was supposed to prove. But this is Monique's son, who I've never seen before, because people act like, oh, we always see him. Child, I ain't never seen this nigga before a day in my life.
Hi. I'm Shalon. I'm comedian Monique's oldest son. I guess I felt the need to make this video to just provide some context into this false narrative about her
really low
into the universe. I know to reconcile our relationship or whatever the hell it is. I wrote it all down so that way I don't go all over the place and get emotional or anything like that. So I'm gonna talk like I'm reading a script, but it's just gonna help me kind of stay together. But to address the Club Shay interview that she did, where she states that she prays to the universe in regards to reconciling our relationship, as I stated, is odd. My mother and I both know that that is a very false narrative, and I would like to free her of having to continue telling that lie. Faith without work is dead, and neither one of us cares to put forth any effort to reconcile with the other.
Okay, so basically he was saying, she talking about, oh, we pray, I really want the religion to work out, but faith without work is nothing. Basically what he's saying is she puts forth no real effort to be in his life, right?
Saying, oh,
so this is her responding to what he said.
You should be ashamed of your mothering skills. You should be ashamed of yourself. This is what I'll say. Let's let it play out. Because the same ones that said to me, I was crazy, I was deranged, we watched it play out. So just like with my son, we'll watch this play out. And I do want to address this though, Shalon. When you say her daddy, and that's when my mom said stop playing. Because this Uncle Sid your life. Uncle Sid knew you before you knew you. So for you to say her 3 sons, yes, you're absolutely right. He has 3 sons. He can't claim you as his son because he's always been Uncle Sid, and he knows your daddy very well.
And love that brother. And the irony of all of this is not what is said, but what's left off.
Yes.
See,
there's some people that are saying, oh, you should be ashamed.
Okay. So she then posts text messages, right? To prove that she's checking in on him and they've had conversations back and forth. She says, hey, my sweet babies, here are the receipts from a mother who allegedly does not love her son. We are sharing this with you, Shalon, and the community. Some will completely get it. Others won't. We love us for real. Please stop saying that at this point, because it's starting to give disingenuous. It's starting to give that's just the saying. So I'm going to keep saying, hey, oh, okay. You see text messages. Hey, okay. Hey, now I see you. Hey, baby, you good? LOL, love y'all. Hey, sweetness, I'll hit you later. Okay. Hey, my baby, I'm gonna call you when you get back home. We out. Okay. Hey, mommy, wanted to send some stuff out. Hey, my baby, of course I will. Give me a couple of hours to call. Hey, ma, have you ever heard of Hey, my baby, I've never heard of that. I will research it. Hey my baby, sorry I missed your call. Can we talk tomorrow? It's a lot of you telling him you're gonna call him later. Yes, you look so handsome. You better say that shit. It's okay. Be overwhelmed these past couple of days, working through it, talking with Nicole. This hasn't been the best sales week so far. So they've been talking. This is 2021. My appointment with DMB is on the 7th. I know you will get it done. Let's go. Okay. Just text message. Jamaica, how y'all doing? We doing good. Cooking a late dinner. Okay. All right. How my baby? Okay. It's small talk, nothing too deep. I don't know what the phone conversations are like, but this is all in 2021. Okay. And another thing, I don't think anybody can say that Monique really doesn't love her son. Like, not even her son. Um, because I feel like parents are fucked up, right? I feel like parents fuck up their oldest kids. I feel like especially parents in entertainment, y'all are extremely fucked up because y'all make a lot of decisions that take you away from your children. And I'm not saying it like, that's intentional or you don't care about your kid, but I'm saying that not being in his life because you wanted to go and chase your dreams is not a good thing, right? You do know that. You do know that if he was separated from you or felt that he wasn't as important to you, if there wasn't a healthy expression or balance of those things, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can understand a lot of kids of performers feeling away about their parents being taken away from them so often and all of that. You know what I'm saying? And I do feel like people make mistakes with their first kids that they may not make with their second set of kids. I think it's crazy that Monique is in the comments writing paragraphs when somebody can say that she wasn't really there for her kids too. It's crazy. But it's giving small talk. It's giving small talk. Then Sydney said, remember today, and this is Uncle Sid, if you don't change your immature ways, you're going to lose, my man. We can't be mad at you, but we're definitely sad for you. How do you go from putting your mother on hold when generations of family are able to see Sanai on Nicole's side, but you gave no instruction to Tuffy or your mother as to when they would or could be able to see Sanai until after Tuffy brought this fact to your attention. Interestingly, you're a man now, but you were a little boy just days ago as you needed me to walk you through getting a car. The items for the baby you couldn't even have if your mother, Tuffy, and I didn't care enough to do that for you and Sanai. You needed to be rescued from your apartment weeks ago by Tuffy, but you cussed her out days ago. What's wrong? Okay, so yeah, to me, this situation looks like y'all probably didn't necessarily do right by him, but he's also acting forever harmed by it. I think a lot of like children, and especially male children, they love to hold on to some shit forever. You know what I'm saying? Like they love to hold on to it, hit you upside the head whenever they want to manipulate you into doing something for them. You know what I mean? But all of this is small talk. All of this is small talk. And I don't know how his mental health is. I'm
Nice.
not going to say anything about this man, but feel like he could be telling the truth. Monique could be telling the truth. And it's just really one of them situations where, a lot of times with family, when they've hurt you in a certain manner, you just don't want to deal with them anymore. And that's what this sounds like to me. But usually for mothers, the door is always open, but I'm not going to deal with any old thing from you. You're not going to be able to curse me out, talk to me, any kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, he sounds like he's in his right mind. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to act like this is some like mental situation. I don't know if that's what they tried to do. We're going to play this last clip. But for me, I just kind of feel like this is one of them situations where your older children got the worst of you because you probably weren't fully prepared to be a parent. You were chasing dreams. So that child got neglected. That child got put on the back burner. Then you get new kids and you do everything right with them. And the oldest child feels resentful of that. And she, as a parent, even being fucked up, being an asshole, all of those things that she said, Sydney had to teach her how to undo. I could see you apologizing for not being better for him, but also not being able to fully fix that wound for him at this point. You know what I'm saying? And still gets the worst of you. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what the situation is, but it definitely feels like two people that love each other, but just may not be able to be in each other's lives because too much has happened that can't be undone. You know what I'm saying? Also, the situation with Sydney, Monique, you make it seem as if Sydney has control over you. And in any situation where a man has to have control over you in order for you to act right, I can't really trust you in his assessment of your relationship with your son, because y'all's pimp hoe mentality gives lies.
So I'm just gonna get straight to it. Hi, I'm Shalon. So I find it unique that my video was in response to my mother and not her husband, but yet he still had the most to say, which isn't uncommon. I also found it unfortunate that my mother does not seem to speak on her own. The only two worlds that I know where daddy is used is for children speaking with their fathers and women acknowledging their pimps. Her husband starts off by literally doing the very thing that I said that they would do, which honestly kind of made me feel as though their response was ironic because they validate my original video. Either A, she has some newfound moment of clarity, or B, she retreats back to daddy. In her retreat back to him, though, he does not acknowledge what I did say, but instead begins to create a new narrative of things that I did not say, which negates the effects of a response video. The two of you essentially created a new video rather than actually respond to what was actually said. You also brought up my father. My father, though, is not doing interviews talking about me. In quick regards to the three sons comment, under the context in which your husband was speaking, by your rationale, Ma, he should have easily had no problem saying 4 sons, especially since you say he knew me before I knew me. The two of you can sometimes come off as seekers of weak levels of empathy from others, while at the same time sidestepping any accountability that one may need to take. To attempt to address what I said to another man while also trying to make your wife victim number one has nothing to do with you. My father did not need you to speak for him. You're her daddy, not his. My mother has been speaking on our relationship for years. So to imply that only one side of a story was told when there are several articles and interviews throughout the internet discussing my strained relationship with her, filled with quotes from your wife.
Yes, he's right. He's been writing down everything he wants to say before he reads it, which I feel like is a very analytical and smart way to handle this situation, because it's easy to get emotional and not get all your points out.
Wife speaking directly about me while also providing vague context and downplaying the impact of an uninterested mother. I am 33 years old and have had ample opportunity to go to the media and tell some BS story for a BS amount of money, but instead I am on TikTok expressing my feelings for free. If the two of them were paying attention, I literally explained in my first video why I am responding using TikTok. And I should not have to repeat myself. My mother also states there are some people that are saying, oh, you should be ashamed of your mothering skills. You should be ashamed of yourself. This is what I say. Let's let it play out. Because the same ones that were saying, oh, I was crazy, I was deranged, we watched it play out. So just like with my son, we're going to watch this play out. First of all, who the hell is we if it ain't you and I reconciling our relationship? Second of all, it's power in a word. Nobody is playing, but I can understand why you would use that word specifically. As you stated in the Club Shay Shay interview, you had the mentality of a 15-year-old child. You required a man to raise you, and you were acting like a little girl. These are your words. It doesn't matter what
Damn, he is reading her the fuck down.
Context I have them in. This is how you thought of yourself as a grown adult who was someone's mother. Last time I checked,
right. You was somebody fucking mama that needed to be raised by another nigga. I have continuously said that something is wrong with that.
Monique fans, a 15-year-old grown adult who acts like a child but is in search of their daddy, they don't typically make efficient parents. But hey, I could be wrong. On a more serious note, to sit there and allow your daddy to address my mental health in a weak attempt to pass my response off as a moment is disturbing and insulting to those of us who do have mental health issues. The way I presented myself was no different than my mother and her daddy presented themselves when addressing DL Hugley. And her precious sweet babies ate it up. DL is wrong because he's so loud. Mo and Daddy are right because they're so calm.
But no, that's not why. That's not why. That's not why. At least not for me anyway. Volume has nothing to do with it. DL's lip was quivering. Like he was big mad. Okay. And I can recognize the manipulation that is being used with Sydney and Monique. I can, but I also see DL's comments and the way he talks and the way he relates to women, and I can believe him not respecting her. I can believe him wanting to take advantage and play in her face. I can believe that because I've seen the way DL treats other women in topics about women.
But I, for some reason, don't get the same energy. To simply try to call me crazy is dismissive and cowardice. Attacking somebody's mental status is a clear sign that you have zero to stand on. Furthermore, what kind of person still has a text message from their wife's son that is over 2 years old, still in their phone, saved just for the purpose of re-showing it to him? What I specifically remember about that message is that at the end of it, you said something along the lines of, if you don't respond, I understand. I could care less about what your message was about, but for you to say in the message, if you don't respond, I understand, why was it then that when you and I did speak, after that message was sent, the first question out of your mouth is, hey man, how come you didn't respond to my text message? I found that to be very unique, but I did not need an explanation on how to speak to women or how to listen to women. That was not what that situation was about. My mother showed me how conceited she is in that situation that you were referring to. For a woman to villainize the actions of her son for being a man and a father to his new family, simply because she had not heard from him in 2 days, as though her phone was broken and she could not check on me. Because last time I checked, I was a new parent. I didn't get a new house. I didn't go on vacation. I didn't just get a new game system. I had a baby. And in those 2 days that you did not hear from me, I was handling my business as a man and a father. But I'll assume your phone and the phones of those around you were all broken, which I wanted to believe was the reason why you did not respond to a message from your son expressing his concern over some bumps that your grandchild had on her back. You would later make it your business to tell me that you got the message and chose not to respond because her other grandmother is a nurse. Damn the fact that she is also your blood. And shout out to Nana. My baby girl loves her some Nana. The statement about money and then stating, don't let nobody introduce me to you, is not a competent statement to make because it wasn't a complete sentence, nor did the two things correlate with each other. And when did you have the time to introduce yourself to a son that you weren't interested in and didn't do the best job you could do? I'm starting to think that you're not hearing yourself. To address money, you gave me $10,000 for a down payment on a car. Yes, thank you again. Thank you. My girlfriend and I were already prepared to put our money together and get a car. You and your husband called us one day and stated you were going to give us $5,000 for a down payment. We said, okay. You then called us back a day or two later and stated that you would be giving us $10,000 for a down payment on the car. You and him made the conscious choice to give us that money. We did not ask you for anything, but this is an example of a rich person doing something for you. And because this is, an example of a rich person doing something for you because they want to do it for you, but because it doesn't have the desired effect that they want it to have, you are inconsiderate and ungrateful. But let's take it a step further. I eventually would uncover that my mother had left me a UTMA worth $45,000. You never brought that account to my attention. You claim it was because you forgot that you didn't set it up in the first place, which validates my original point. Who forgets that they invested $45,000 into a child that at that time is the only child? When I was homeless and I called you to help me figure out how to access the account, you said, Shalon, I don't even know what you're talking about. And if I did, why do you think I would help you? After finding out from the Georgia Department of Revenue that they had been sending me mail to 3 separate Georgia addresses, all of which I lived at with you at some point or another. For the life of me, I can't grasp how those letters managed to slip by so many people at 3 different locations. I did, however, eventually get access to the money and the brokerage account that you had set up for me with Morgan Stanley. To be fair, what you put together for me was amazing, especially had I let it sit for a year or two, which made it bittersweet that you wouldn't have wanted to help or even educate me on how to manage what I had. My blowing through that money is all on me, and I have to take my accountability for that, and it's a lesson learned. Sydney stated that the last time that him and I spoke, I wanted to call him Dad. The actual truth is that I wanted to call him Pop. Calling you Uncle Sydney, but my mother calls you Daddy, and the boys call you Daddy. It was getting a little awkward. And yes, for a very short time, I did feel that way about you, but the more things change, the more they stay the same. Oh,
Well,
Black Jesus. I do just want to really quickly give a really, really big thank you to the support that I've received throughout this. I definitely, I didn't think that that was something that was going to happen. I didn't make that video to have a tennis match with my mother. I do not plan on making any more videos. This is it. I've said what I wanted to say. To me, if you're not going to acknowledge, you've already shown me that you don't care enough to acknowledge what I did say. So I definitely don't have the expectation that you're going to acknowledge now what I'm saying. So it is what it is. But once again, I want to say thank you again, man. That day that before I posted that original video, I went to sleep with 25 followers, and I probably could name all. I could probably name all 25 of those people. I think I have over like 12,000 followers now. That's really cool, man. I really appreciate that. But I just can't say thank you enough. I know I sound like a broken record, but I do appreciate the love, and best of luck to my mother in Sydney. And I hope that the Cat Williams tour is incredible. I really, really do. But when it comes to me, I am going to enjoy being a dad and being a man and just going through life, man. I don't want to be.
All right. So we heard what he had to say. He read down. He did. He absolutely read down. And I do feel as if it showcases how Monique and Sydney are manipulative, are fucked up individuals. It does. It does show somebody taking real moments where they have been fucked over and trying to capitalize off those moments to the point where it becomes like an ego thing, where now you just want to be right. Now you just want to be proven as the right party in every conversation, in every until you come up against somebody that you can't be right with, which is your kid, because the mistakes that you made are the mistakes that you made, right? He didn't have any responsibility to be better to you. You had a responsibility to be better to him. So I definitely believe everything he said. I do feel like there's probably hurt on both sides in one way or another. I do feel like it sounds as if there were moments, and it doesn't seem like Monique has been completely absent from his life, but it does seem as if she is not able to give him what he needed as a mother. And I would have to wonder if she is even giving it to the kids that she has now, because just because you financially support them and put them in better rooms and give them more access than you gave your oldest, it doesn't mean that you are the emotional and mental support that they need. All of that fake nicety shit, kids know that. Kids know that mom's being fake and disingenuous. So I kind of feel like this definitely shines a light on Monique in a negative light and Sydney in a negative light. Just when we was about to let y'all go off into the sunset, winning the battle with Tyler Perry and everything and Oprah, and, recognizing them for being fucked up in the ways that they're fucked up. But this just goes to show, everybody's fucked up. Everybody plays the fool sometimes, damn it. But Monique, I believe everything that your son said about you. I do. I do believe you let that nigga get in the way of y'all relationship. I do feel like there's a part of you that feels a lot of shame and guilt surrounding your relationship with him. So you would much rather handle him with a long handle spoon. I think he feels the shame and guilt. I also feel like it could be one of those situations where being around him is a reminder of who she was before. And that may not be a good feeling for her. You know what I mean? Yeah, everybody has flaw. Everybody has flaw. I still stand on what I said as it pertains to Tyler Perry and Oprah and the powers that be and how those things play out with women and Black women specifically in entertainment, all of those things. I still stand on that. But I absolutely feel that you don't have a right to judge anybody's parenting when your son can come out and tell a story like this about you. But I also feel like DL ain't nothing more despicable. Like, I'm sorry, DL, but you do things that anybody can judge you for. It is what it is. Exactly. His initial video should have been met with a direct response in person to try to fix things. Exactly. Which is just another showcase of this being about how y'all look and not how things really are. And Monique, you can't expect people to be real with you when you ain't even real with your own fucking son. Absolutely. I do. I mean, I wouldn't say everything, parents to do everything. Because you can only, I've seen people try really hard with kids that enjoy having something to hold over their parents' head. Okay. I think that there are kids out there that have been hurt by their parents, and no matter how many times their parents are there for them and apologize for whatever mistakes they made, those adult children will still use their trauma as a way to manipulate their parents. So I do feel like there are people out there that do those things. In this situation, I don't think that's what's happening here, but it does sound like Monique had been there for him and allowed Sydney to cause even more of a separation in an already bruised relationship, which I still put on Monique. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I've seen both sides too, man. You know, like it's just that's why it's so hard to say, oh, you know, this person's 100% wrong. This person's, you know, in this situation. But you know, it's just one of those times where the situation is the situation. You might be right here, he might be wrong here, vice versa. You know, and you should do everything that you can do. You know what I'm saying? That you can do, because at some point the kid has to want to let the past go, but you got to be different. And I don't think she'll ever be different with Sydney as a partner, feeling the need to speak up and have a part in the whole dialogue for no apparent reason other than the fact that he needs to be seen as the one in control. That shit is obnoxious. It doesn't matter how many times they do it. It's still grimy, as DL called it. But I feel like he can't really speak too much because I feel like that Joker like smile that he has is grimy. But anyway, y'all, let me go because I gotta go to the grocery store and get some eggs. I love you guys. I hope y'all enjoyed the long ass live today. I'll be back tomorrow for Love and Hip Hop and all of that shit. I need to figure out what I'm gonna, you know, talk about these people, talk about publicly with these people. Okay. But anyway, let me see. Let me read y'all comments. Monique gives me, I'm your mother, so you owe me a relationship, not the other way around. It reminds me of my brother. He's a habitual victim. Even when my parents try to make up for it, who knows what it is? And I've seen that scenario as well. Has to let it go, especially after my mom died. Life is too short. I know that's right. Well, anyway, y'all, I love y'all. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. All right. Bye bye.